So, welcome everyone. You are hearing this, and that means that you are probably new to our KISP program this year. You may be a family who is returning and you're just joining us because you want to hear anything new, which is great. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with this orientation. Experiencing those kinks. I'm trying to change my slide. There we go. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is meet our team. It's really good to be able to put names and faces together. And since we're not in person, normally I would kind of line everyone up and you would meet them. Some of you have already met some of our staff and others haven't, but at least you'll be able to say, oh, wait a minute, I know that name and now I know what they look like when you do see folks in person. Okay, here we go. Sorry for the delay. We are having a few technical difficulties. So my name is Leslie Shebley. I'm on your screen to the left. I'm a co-founder of Kairos Public Schools as well as the coordinator of this program, our KISP program as we like to call it, our Innovative Scholars. Well, we've changed it to Pathway, not program, so that's what that P stands for. Want to introduce the rest of the staff. Miss Jennifer Burton is an academic advisor. She's also this year in a kind of a new capacity. We call a TOSA, a teacher on special assignment. We also have Amanda Sugair is an academic advisor, and she's our instructional lead teacher, or our ILT. You might hear that. We also have Miss Brandy Chapman, who's an academic advisor, and she is involved heavily in our reading intervention when needed. And we have Miss Stephanie Joffrion, academic advisor. Megan Zadnick, an academic advisor, also does some reading intervention for our older scholars. Miss Carrie Peterson, math intervention, and then Emily Berg is also an academic advisor with us. So hopefully you're seeing the faces of the people who've been emailing you. Miss Carrie McGinty is a KISP parent, and she's also a workshop teacher. And Miss Tawny McKenzie is an academic advisor. Miss Janet Snyder is actually here with me, and she is on the chat ready to answer your questions. She is one of our administrative assistants, and you can feel free to ask questions throughout this presentation. I will also answer some live toward the end. So if you want to use that chat feature and ask, she will respond. Miss Alexis Granzella is our educational specialist in our special education department. And we also have Miss Kelly Clausen, who's an administrative assistant and a workshop teacher with us. And a couple of newbies to our team. Miss Carolyn Lopez is a Kairos parent, and she is an administrative assistant. You're actually going to see her friendly face at our front desk when you come in. She'll be letting you through the doors, and she will also be answering phones and all that. She will probably be the main one you see at the front desk. You may see Kelly there occasionally and Miss Snyder there occasionally and maybe a few others, but normally you will see Miss Lopez. So get to know her and say hi. She is a great lady. And we have a new position at KISP because we are in a beautiful new building. We now have a campus monitor because we have an outdoor space, as well as staff are kind of separated from the main workshop. So Miss Nora Courtney is actually also an alumni of Kairos Public Schools, which makes me feel very old, but she is with us now as our campus monitor. And you will see her a lot. She will be here helping kiddos when they're in between workshops or monitoring the outdoor space, or maybe standing with your kiddos when you're picking them up from workshops, but you will see her around, so get to know her. And then we have some of our staff who are not specific to KISP only, but they are part of our Kairos administrative team. Jared Austin is one of our co-founders and the executive director of the organization. You will see him here in and out. He also is at our Elm campus. Miss Betsy Madigan is our director of student services. She also oversees our special education and 504s. and she will be here occasionally as well. And Mr. John Seebug is our Operations and Accountability Coordinator. You will see him here, and he works mainly out of our Elm campus, but he helps us a lot with our building and some of our operations as well as emergency things around here. So you can say hi and know who they are. All right. So one of the first things we like to do before we go into any of the information, whenever we do a presentation, is go over our mission. Whether we're presenting to our staff or we're presenting to parents or we're presenting to our board, it's really important to point back to what our overall goal is here as a program, as a pathway of Kairos Public Schools. This mission is specific to KISP. We have an overarching mission for our organization as a whole, and then each academy, each pathway has their own mission, and this is for KISP, and so it's appropriate here. So Kairos Innovative Scholars Pathway is committed to developing a partnership between family, school, and community. We will empower the next generation of innovative scholars through differentiated learning opportunities, preparing them to make a global impact. So this is our goal here. We recognize that in independent study, homeschool, flex-based learning, whatever you want to call our program, this is about not just educating scholars, but it's also about including the family, as homeschoolers often come in families. And then we want to help our community as well, which is a big focus of Kairos as a whole, our role in our community and encouraging our scholars and families to get out there and support their community. So we always want to remember this as we move forward. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? This is just bullet point. I'm going to talk about our ESLERs, which is our expected school-wide learning results. It's something that we try to incorporate into workshops and various things that we do here at KISP, and we'll go over those. We're going to talk about curriculum pickup briefly, PLP meeting, expectations and norms, assessments and testing. I'll go over our non-compliance, which is not the fun topic, but I always feel like I have to address it. Learning center use. We're in a new facility, as you all know, and we'll go over that. We'll talk about workshops, field trips, and other events, and then how we communicate and how we ask you to communicate with us. We will also talk about our PAC, which is our Parent Advisory Council, and then we will take questions at the end. But again, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and Miss Janet will answer those for you. And then if there's some that we're seeing that are coming in a lot, she'll ask me at the end, and I will answer them live. And then you can also ask questions live at the end if you type them in the chat. All right, so what are our ESLERs? Our ESLERs, as I mentioned, it stands for Expected School-Wide Learning Results. These are things that we keep in mind as we develop workshops, as we work with our scholars and those, as we create PLPs, as we plan events. We want to not only educate our scholars and academics, but push them forward in the community and help them become critical thinkers, responsible citizens, effective communicators, and self-directed learners. This is an overarching theme for all of our academies, not just KISP. So you will see this promoted, especially at our Elm campus, but definitely here as well, in case you say, I don't even know what those are. Now you do, and you can find those on our website as well. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty and why people say, I want to know how this program works and what I'm expected to do. So curriculum pickup and use. You've probably already received, at least you better have received, an email from your advisor introducing themselves, letting you know when you can come in to and do a sign up to pick up your curriculum. All of you should have ordered curriculum at this point. Most of our curriculum is in. I will say sometimes things are put on back order, so there may be a piece missing here and there, but you should receive a time set up with your advisor to go over that curriculum, check it out, talk about it, and then they also go over the initial PLP as well. So look for that email from your advisor. If you have not seen it, please let us know. If you don't know who your advisor is, you should by now, but you can always call us and we will let you know and make sure that they reach out to you. They have sent out their caseload emails. So if you haven't received it, I would check your spam first, but definitely be on the lookout for that. So books are checked out to you as well as Chromebooks. We are a one-to-one program, which means we have a device for every scholar, and that is a Chromebook. You can check out the Chromebook, you can check out the charger for it, and even the mouse to go with it. We have scholars who use virtual curriculum, and so this is very helpful. But even if you don't, even if all of your curriculum is book-based, paper-based, and maybe you have, I'm sure most people have either iPads or laptops or desktops in their homes these days. But if you just want your scholar to have something that is very filtered, very locked down in the sense they can't search random things, we have a filter on it so that they can just use it for school purposes. You can ask for that and we will check that out to you. So if you want one or need one, you can do that. We check them out to individual scholars. So we don't check them out to, whether it's books or Chromebooks, we don't check them out to families or to parents. So if you have 2 or 3 kiddos with us, they're going to have their own curriculum under their names, and we will take care of that when you come in. All curriculum must be checked back in by the end of the school year or before, minus consumables. So you may have a workbook or something that you're writing in. You're not going to check back in. Those are things we order every year. But if it has a barcode on it, a KISP barcode, that means we expect it back at the end of the year or whenever you finish it. Some people will turn things in throughout the year so that they don't lose them, and we encourage that if that works for you. You will also have to sign a paper for a Chromebook that says, yes, I'm receiving this, I'm going to take care of it, and I'm responsible for it. And so we just ask that you take care of the books and Chromebooks. Normally, this is not an issue, and we do recognize sometimes life happens. We've had people accidentally, maybe they had a Chromebook on a couch and then someone threw a book or a ball and it cracked the screen. We ask that you try to treat them with respect so that we can keep these devices as new as possible for as long as possible. But please do that, and just know that we do understand life happens, but just make sure you take care of them. Okay, so I mentioned the PLP. A PLP stands for a personalized learning plan. Every scholar has one. Every advisor makes one up for each scholar for every month. And this is what drives your monthly meeting with your advisor. So as I mentioned, your advisor is going to reach out to you if they haven't already to set up your curriculum pickup appointment as well as your scholar's first PLP. The first one is primarily just showing you what it is, showing you the breakdown. It's not usually a long meeting because you have nothing at this point to turn in. Once we get through this first month, your PLPs will be set up for about an hour a month, and you'll have time to talk with your advisor, ask questions, let them know what your concerns are, go over any issues you might be having, and they're a wonderful wealth of knowledge. They are credentialed teachers. They've been doing this for a while. Many of them have homeschooled their own kids, so they know how this works. So they can definitely be that point person and resource person for you, and they are there to support you. So in your PLP meetings, you're going to work together with your advisor to create the monthly learning plan. Some of you are really new to homeschooling, and that's okay. The advisor will completely make your PLP for you. They will schedule everything for you. They will plan it out for you. And then we have some families who are very tenured and they know what they're doing. They know, and they kind of write their own PLP and just get it approved by their advisor, and that's fine too. But the advisor is the one responsible, according to the state, for making sure that kiddos are being assigned what they need and completing what they need. So they will work in conjunction with you to create that. As I mentioned, PLP meetings occur at least once a month, and they are expected to be in person unless other arrangements are needed. So sometimes we know people get sick and they say, hey, I want to meet, but I have a kid who has a fever and I don't want to come in and spread it. Please don't. We will absolutely set up a virtual meeting for you. But we have had families say, well, we only want to do virtual meetings. Well, that's unfortunately not something we do. We did that during COVID because it was needed. But since we're kind of out of that, we want to see you in person. We want to have that interaction. We want to see the kiddos. So all we request is a once a month in-person meeting that you will set up with your advisor that works for your schedule as well as theirs. So if virtual, the monthly PLP planning meetings will need to be a video meeting, not a phone meeting, and scholars must be present for at least part of that meeting. Again, our teachers do this, our advisors do this for the kiddos. They want to have a relationship with them as much as they want to work with you as the parent. And so sometimes we've had families who've come in and it's the parent and the kid is nowhere to be found. That's definitely not something that works for us. We want to have relationship with your kiddos, with you, and work with the family as a whole. Advisors will reach out to you on a weekly basis to check in. That can take on various forms. If you're a family who's here a lot, maybe when workshops start, you're here multiple times a week, you're going to be checking in with your advisor all the time. You're going to be seeing them, you're going to be saying hi, you're going to be asking questions, and that's considered your weekly check-in. Now, if you're someone who does not come into the Learning Center at all or often, your advisor will reach out to you if you haven't already reached out to them. They will reach out once a week by phone, by text, check in, say, hey, how's it going? Do you have any questions? Do you need anything from me? How can I help? And this is just our way of maintaining that connection and reminding you that we're there to help you, to support you through this homeschooling journey. So just be prepared for that. But again, many of our families have really good relationships with their advisors, and especially since you stick with them over the years and you may have multiple scholars that kind of come through KISP in the coming years, then that relationship is really important. In addition to official weekly check-ins at the monthly PLP meeting, you have regular access to your advisor by email, text, phone call. Obviously, we ask that you don't text them at midnight and say, hey, can you answer this question for me? We're thinking within normal work hours. Sometimes, like I said, the relationship piece is in there, and you may become friends outside of KISP, and that's fine. You have established your own boundaries there. But typically we say, hey, normal business hours, you can text your advisor, you can email them, you can call them, or say, hey, I just need to chat really quick. I'm struggling with this. Can you answer this question for me? And they are available to you. That is one of the beauties of homeschooling. You aren't alone at KISP. You've got plenty of support. And if your advisor maybe doesn't have an answer, they have a team of support that they can reach out to and say, hey, I have a family who's in this curriculum and they're struggling with this. Anyone have a suggestion for them? And they do that all the time. Our team works really well together. So just know that you're not an island. We are here to support you. So what does a PLP look like for middle school? So what I just went over is the general guidelines for all of our students, K-8. However, our middle schoolers, as many of you know, if you have them, are becoming independent. They are becoming autonomous learners in many ways. So our intent is to support them as they kind of transition into taking more responsibility for their daily work. And we want them to have accountability, not just with you as their parent, but receive support from their advisor directly. If any of you have homeschooled in high school, this is very common. I was a former high school independent study teacher, and I only met with the student. I didn't meet with the parent. The student was responsible for reporting to me what they did, what they went over, what their struggles were, and I worked directly with them, and we only involved the parent when needed. Middle schoolers are kind of in that in between, right? They're not in elementary, but they're not high schoolers yet. They're kind of branching out a little bit. So we said, how can we support our parents who may struggle with having pubescent and prepubescent kiddos who they're trying to work with on a daily basis? And sometimes that struggle can be real. How can we support the parent as well as the kiddo? So we've implemented some pieces, and for those of you who have middle schoolers with us, you will receive kind of a list of what we expect from each grade, so 6th, 7th, and 8th. And in a nutshell, we want the middle schoolers present for the PLP meeting, at least for a portion of it. We ask that of all scholars in general, but we want, more so than a kindergartner, we want your 7th grader to be able to sit with their advisor and report on what they're doing and answer those questions. That's our goal. That's our hope, that we can have that relationship. So advisors will engage directly with them regarding curriculum, work samples, struggles they may be having, all of that. And like I said, an email, if it hasn't gone out to you already, it will go out to you from your advisor if you have a middle schooler with us. If you don't, you won't receive this email. But with the basic expectations. So 6th grade, we kind of say, hey, we want them to report to their advisor on at least one subject. Maybe they go over math and they present their work sample, and maybe mom does or dad does the rest. But we kind of graduate their responsibility. And in 7th grade, they need to report and talk about at least 2 of their curriculum pieces with their advisor. And that way it kind of gives them a gradual ownership of their own education. And that's our hope, that we can do that. And it kind of goes back to our Esslers about, creating critical thinkers and effective communicators and all of that. And this ties in with that. And we really push that, especially in middle school. And if you have questions about what that looks like, you can ask, or you can reach out to your advisor. But we'd just like to make it clear kind of what we expect of our middle schoolers. So what are the norms of our PLPs in general for everybody? As I said, in person, with the scholar or scholars, if you have multiple kiddos with us, with the parent. We ask you to come prepared. So kind of a brief report of previous month. I'm not asking you to type anything, just like your advisor is going to say, so how has it gone? What's going on? What were the strengths? What were the challenges? Talk to me. Come with questions. Definitely work samples. So we require, and the state requires us to collect work samples, and that is how we justify that your kiddos are receiving an education. And it looks different for every kid, which is maybe why you chose homeschool. But we want 1 work sample per subject per PLP period. So basically 4 work samples a month. So the core curriculum subjects are math, language arts, social studies, and science. So those are what we need work samples of. Your advisor will determine what is an appropriate work sample for your scholar. We've had sometimes an 8th grader come in and give us a sentence, not quite a good work sample from an 8th grader for most. So they may say, hey, bring in the work that you've done. I'm going to look through it and choose some good work samples. And maybe you do that the first couple of months with your advisor, and then you get to know what they're looking for, and you kind of come prepared and ready with what you know that they want. If they say, for science, I need something a little more than this. What else do you have? They may ask for more, because we're just looking for quality. We're looking for something to justify to the state, because that's where we receive our funding, that, hey, these kiddos are active, they're engaged in their education, and they're learning. And that's the way we do it. For an on-site program, it's kids showing up every day. That's how they get their funding. For us, it's work completion and showing work samples. So that's why we ask for that. And it will be directly from what you have done the previous month in the PLP. So when you come for your, let's say, September PLP, and it's going over these initial couple weeks, we'll say, hey, what'd you guys work on? What'd you do? Let's see what we can pull as work samples. And it's just, like I said, it's not everything. It's just 4 a month, 1 from each core subject. We don't need 1 from electives for those of you who have middle school students in electives. We won't need 1 from those. All right, so I sandwiched this in with all the fun stuff. Believe me, we will get to funner stuff, but I have to go through non-compliance because it's a little different at an independent study program, and 99.9% of you will never even have to think about this issue. But every year we do have families who come to us, and maybe they're not completing on a regular basis their work. We've had families who come to us and they have a PLP and they do a week's worth of work in a whole month. And again, that work it's approved by the advisor, but it's set based on what your scholar, what your family needs. So it's going to look different for every scholar, the workload. But I feel like I have to go over this. This is in our student handbook that all of you, I know everyone read word for word, but you did sign off on this when you registered. I read this just so everybody knows kind of where we're at. There's more nuance to it, but this is the general gist. And I read this every single year. so that I can say, hey, we told you kind of what our expectations are. So Kairos Innovative Scholars Pathway has established a 100% completion rate as the minimum amount of work needed to be completed within a given PLP period in order to maintain work completion compliance before the process of noncompliance begins. With 100% of the PLP completed, 4 work samples must be provided. We just went over that as justification of work completed. So 1 work sample from each course subject, and we just went over this, so I won't read the rest of that. Work must not only be completed at a rate of 100%, but the quality of the work and work samples turned in will also be evaluated by the advisor, who will determine whether the work samples completed are adequate representations of the scholar's academic abilities. Again, we may have a kindergartner who is drawing a picture. That is probably an okay thing for a kindergartner. For the average 8th grader, probably not. Depending on what they're doing. Maybe they did, along with it, a timeline for history. That would probably be adequate. But again, your advisor determines what is appropriate based on their relationship with you, their relationship with your scholar, and what they know your scholar can do. In addition to 100% PLP completion and adequate work samples, if a scheduled monthly PLP meeting is missed or rescheduled more than once, the below noncompliance process may be triggered. I won't go on to read the rest of that, but we included the PLP in our noncompliance because something that also can happen is we see a pattern sometimes of folks constantly rescheduling, constantly canceling, and we have deadlines, our advisors, and they're very, very flexible. If you talk to anybody who's been in our program, we work with you as best we possibly can. And we know life happens, kids get sick, whole families get sick, and sometimes work completion just kind of goes down the tubes for a week or two. We all know that. That's not what's going to trigger noncompliance. So rest assured, if you are over your toilet puking, we do not expect you to complete everything that week. We get it. But this is put in place for families who this is a consistent problem. I know it's kind of hard to hear in the very beginning, but we have to make this clear because sometimes if we have families not showing up, not completing work on a fairly regular basis, it becomes a compliance issue, and then we have no idea where the kiddos are at, and yet we're being held responsible by the state, and then it becomes a whole mess of things. So I'll spare you any more on this, but this is just something you can review, and we'll move forward. So independent study programs now are also required to offer daily live synchronous instruction opportunities to kinder through 3rd grade scholars and weekly opportunities to 4th through 8th grade scholars. We must also offer daily live synchronous opportunities 4th to 8th grade scholars. Okay, this is a lot of jargon, I get it. But basically what it means is that your advisor every single day will offer a live interaction time with them. They will let you know about it. I think most of them have it listed in their emails, as well as the link and the times and days are at the top left of your PLP. So when you receive your PLP, you'll see something that says, I think synchronous instruction link, and then the days and times that happens. A lot of times it's for 15 minutes in the morning. This is not something that we personally choose to do. It has become over the last 2 years a requirement of the state. It's kind of a whole other topic, but it is not required of you to show up at this point. This is something optional. So if you're like, hey, we want to get our day started, and you're going to start out by saying hi to your advisor, and then we'll get going on our work, you are more than welcome to do that. We encourage you to show up, but you are not required to do that. It's just something I wanted to make you aware of, and you can ask your advisor about this a little bit more. In addition to other requirements, we do a sort of progress report. It's not grades necessarily, but it's another state requirement. Every trimester, your advisor will fill it out, and it has basically 5 criteria. Again, this isn't typically something you're going to need to worry about. However, if you're one of those families that I talked about that kind of falls into the non-compliance piece, that's where this progress report comes into play. Again, you don't have to worry about this it's up to your advisor to fill it out and go over it with you once a trimester. Again, another state requirement that isn't our personal choice. It's just something that they ask us to do. So I just want to make you aware of it. Oh, and I'm freezing again. Here we go. Okay. Testing and assessments. I promise we'll get to the fun stuff soon. So we do assessments with our scholars. We do assessments 3 times a year. And then with our 3rd through 8th grade scholars, we do and are required by the state to do something called a KISP or Smarter Balance test. They always change the name. I could never keep up. But we do these once a year in the spring. And then in January, we do what we call interims. They're just practice tests. These are only for your 3rd to 8th grade scholars. If you have a kinder to 2nd scholar, you don't have to worry about KISP at this point. We just do assessments with you. But our regular assessments occur 3 times a year in both ELA and math. They will be done in person at KISP at our learning center. And these STAR assessments you can see down below, we use STAR 360 or Renaissance. They help us assess academic growth. For instance, you are going to be receiving an email, if you haven't already, with a sign-up genius that says, hey, we're going to do our beginning of the year assessments. We just want to see where kiddos are starting out the year at. And sign up for that. And it will be, I think, the week of the 28th, and I'll touch on that again. So those are the ones that we choose to do here at KISP, just because it helps us kind of measure progress. And then it helps you as the parents see if what you're doing is working. We recognize that tests don't measure the intelligence of our scholars, but it does help us see areas of growth as well as areas of strength. And then we can better advise you on curriculum. Do you need to switch something up? What else do we need to do? It also helps us figure out if there's scholars who are maybe struggling in reading and they need some extra intervention, or math as a challenge, and we want to help support you a little bit more. It helps us have those conversations. So we do one at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, which is usually in December, and then we do one at the end, usually during the month of May. I mentioned the KISP, the interims happen in January, and then our actual KISP testing, which again, this is a state required thing, doesn't happen until usually end of April and early May. I will keep you posted on all of those dates and times. Nothing that you have to worry about right this second if you have a 3rd to 8th grader, but that is something that we do. And every independent study program, every flex-based program is required to have students take this. This isn't specific to us. This isn't something we, again, want to do. This is simply a state requirement. At Kairos, what you will learn, if you don't already, is that we want to give you as much freedom and flexibility as we can. And so we try not to impose our own requirements, especially if there are already state requirements. And then we try to minimize the state requirements as much as possible. So if there's a way to get around them, if there's a way to modify them, we will, just because we want you to have freedom and flexibility. But if there isn't, then we want to make sure that we comply with that so that we can stay a school and be here for you guys and to support you. All of you have probably been reading this. We do some couple times a year, we do some reading assessments, usually with our elementary age scholars, see where they're at, and you'll hear more about that in the future. So I already talked about KISP. I'm not going to go over it anymore. Dates will be going out in email, so you can mark your calendar and try not to schedule vacations for that time. Sometimes that happens, but you'll receive more information about that. Again, only for 3rd to 8th grade scholars. All right, our Learning Center. We have a new KISP building. In case you haven't been here, maybe you've seen it from afar. Many of you have already been here or taken a tour. It is beautiful. We love it. It's pretty much twice the size of what we had over on Alamo, which is where we've been for 6 years. And we're so happy that we're moved in. But there are some kinks we're still working out. So please have some grace for us as we do that. When you show up, we will buzz you in. That's part of our security. So the doors remain locked during normal business hours. And we see you coming up, and Miss Carolyn, whoever's at the front desk, will unlock the door from their desk, and then you can come in. This will help us say, I don't know who this person is. Maybe they shouldn't be in the building. And that helps keep everybody safe. So just be prepared for that those doors don't just stay open all the time. And it's a great thing if you're dropping your kiddos off, you know that they're safe. We ask that you treat our Learning Center with respect. We want families to come use our Learning Center, feel at home, all of those things. But we also want to keep it nice, and we want to keep it new for as long as possible. So we just ask that you treat it like home, but don't treat it like home. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knows what I'm saying. So we have a campus monitor now because we do have an outdoor space and a larger space. So we need someone who's kind of responsible for patrolling. We have a back patio for your use as well as your scholars' use. We've got tables back there. We have a basketball hoop. We're going to be adding another one. We're also going to be adding some fun hopscotch things back there. We encourage families, like I said, to come and use our facility. This isn't just for dropping your kids off, although you're welcome to do that if they're here for workshops. But if you are maybe waiting on your scholar and you want to chat with the parents who are here, you are more than welcome to be here. We have tables set up for you. The rotunda area, we're recognizing our main area can be a little loud, and we're working on mitigating that. But you can sit outside, especially with this nice weather that we still have for now. Sit outside and chat. If you've got your littles who maybe aren't in school yet and you're waiting for your scholar, you can come and sit and have a snack and talk with other parents. If you want to maybe work with a scholar on their own work while you're waiting for somebody else, or maybe you just want to get out of the house and go someplace and do your work, we will have spaces available throughout the building that will be quiet spaces. So you can come and say, hey, what room is free? I want to be able to work with my third grader on their work or my kiddos and get it done. And we just wanted to get out of our house. And we will let you know what room is free and available, and you can go sit in there and use it. Again, this isn't just for our staff or for workshops. It is for our families. We just ask that you recognize that it is a quote unquote quiet space in the sense of education, but we don't expect everyone to whisper. We just ask that you use inside voices and all of that. And I think everyone knows what we mean by that. We have the lovely benefit of being right against Nashe Mesto Park, which is right behind us. We love that, and we love that we're going to be able to use it. And we did last year as well for our KISP picnic that's coming up. Our beginning of the year picnic is happening on August 25th. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But the one thing that we will say is we are not responsible for the park. We have a gated off back area as well as a building that our kiddos can be in and that our campus monitor will be patrolling. We do not patrol the park. So if you have a kiddo, fifth grader who got out of workshops, they're waiting for you and they're like, well, I'm going to go wait at the park. We will not allow them to go because we cannot watch them over there. We will say, hey, if you want to be outside, that's great. Go play basketball in the back. But, we don't just allow kiddos to come in and out and go to the park because it is a public park. It is not our space. There's no way we could man it and just to make sure kids aren't getting hurt or taken or something like that. So if you have a middle schooler who's like, I am in between workshops, I just want to go over there, unfortunately, we'll have to tell them no. So we just ask that you communicate that with your kids as well. If you are here with them and you say that your seventh grader can go over to the park, that is completely fine because you are here and you are responsible for them as the parent, obviously. But if they are on our time without you, even if they're in between activities, we just ask them to stay here. And since we have an outdoor space, that shouldn't be a huge issue. And we'll make sure there's some fun things out there for them to do. I've already mentioned Chromebooks. They can be checked out and they can be used at KISP. Maybe you don't want to check it out, but we do have Chromebook carts. If you're here and you need to use it, your kiddos need to use it. You have to sign an acceptable use policy that also applies to curriculum. I mentioned that already, and that's done at the beginning anyways. Not every time you use it, but just know that they're here and available to you. behavior expectations. I mentioned this. Inside voices goes for parents too. Sometimes we get a group of parents who are enjoying themselves and we love that. But we just ask that if you guys want to kind of be a little louder or laugh or whatever, that you maybe move to the outdoor space so that it doesn't get too loud in that area. We had a bunch of people here at the very end of this last school year dropping off curriculum, and we recognize how loud it can get due to the high ceilings. It's beautiful, bright building, but these are the things we're learning now. And then our front desk folks can't answer the phone. They can't hear themselves think. So you're more than welcome to hang out, have hushed conversations. But if it does get a little loud, we may say, hey guys, can you move into a quiet space or can you move into the back area? And this goes for the kiddos as well. No running or roughhousing. We know that sometimes the littles can get a little rambunctious. We just ask that you patrol that when you're here. We expect respectful interactions with peers as well as with staff. That obviously goes without saying. Drop off and pick up after workshops shouldn't be an issue. You can pull up if you have an older kid who sees your car. Miss Nora or someone will be here to make sure that they're connecting with you. You may park and come in. What we do ask is if your scholar is dropped off here, unless they're staying for a study hall or an assessment or something like that, that you pick them up within a reasonable amount of time, meaning, maybe within 15 minutes of that workshop getting out. Sometimes we find that parents drop them off, they're there for 2 hours, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go run some errands while you're there. And the kid has nothing to do there, especially our younger scholars can't do it on their own. I respectfully say that we are not a babysitting service. We are definitely an educational facility. We want to have relationships, but we just ask that you drop off and pick up in a timely manner. If you do have a scholar who's going to have downtime, maybe they're in between workshops, especially this might happen for our older scholars. We have very few workshops that have gaps for our younger ones for this very purpose. But if you have an older scholar who has what we call downtime, meaning they're not in a workshop or in something structured, we ask that you send them with work. Sometimes we have students who come and they have 2 workshops back to back, and then they've got an hour in between workshops, especially if they're a middle schooler, and they're kind of wandering around, and we're like, hey, did you bring your work? They're like, oh no, I didn't bring anything. And we just say, well, have them come with a few things to do. They have a PLP, they've got work to do. If we find them that they're just kind of meandering, Nora or another staff member might say, hey, let's go grab a book and read for a while. That doesn't mean that the middle schoolers may not be breaking for lunch on the back patio and talking and eating lunch, and we're going to say, everyone read a book. Nothing like that. But we have had experiences where kids just kind of hang out and parents don't send them with anything to do. So we ask that you do that if they're going to be here in between workshops or waiting for something. Okay, enrichment workshops. All of you have received the schedule. Hopefully you have signed up. We have quite a few workshops that are completely at capacity. We have a wait list going. If you click on a workshop and it says it's closed, that means you need to email Miss Snyder and she will add you to the wait list. But our workshops begin Tuesday, September 5th. It's right after Labor Day. So we are off on Labor Day. We come back on Tuesday and we start our workshop schedule for the fall. It's always a busy time. It's always a really fun time, and we're excited about that. But just know that's when it starts. It's posted on our website, the workshop schedule. It was also emailed out a couple of different times over the last few weeks. It went out on August 1st. All kindergarten workshops are 30 minutes, and then 1st to 8th grade workshops will be about an hour. We do have study halls a couple of times a week where there's a grade post. I think it's 3rd to 8th we have, or 4th to 8th can come and do work, and they will have an advisor in there to help them or to monitor them as well. But if they just want to get out and do their work somewhere else and get some help, they can come to those. So to register, all you have to do is click on the workshop, read the description, and then sign up. The study halls, there is no link because it's a drop-in. You don't have to sign up for study halls. They just come. Some workshops, like I mentioned, have reached their sign-up limit, but we can put you on the wait list. And we do have kiddos who drop them, or maybe they show up once and they don't come back for 2 weeks, and then we drop them because there's other people waiting to come. But we will reach out to you if we're thinking of saying, hey, are you still going to come because you came once and haven't been back? If you are wanting to drop it, let us know so that we can call on the wait list, because people are definitely waiting to get into some of those that you may be in. All right, field trips and other extracurriculars. I told you we'd get to the fun stuff. I send out monthly event emails. I am about to send out the August event email this afternoon. I'm going to go over some of those with you, so you will get a sneak peek. We do field trips, usually about either a field trip or an event twice a semester. That's kind of our common thing. For fall, we usually have a field trip, and then we do something for the holidays, usually around December, that kind of is an event. And we will let you know plenty of time in advance with specifics. You can sign up for those. We recognize that families come with homeschoolers. So it's not just the scholar and the parent. You may have siblings, and we will let you know capacity limits and age limits and all of that stuff, but we try to make it as family friendly as possible. One of the big perks of our program is that we have a site-based program, and there's lots of events and sports going on. So we have a lot of middle school sports. We have basketball, and we have volleyball, and we have flag football, and we have track and all of that stuff. And we have tryouts for those. So you will be notified if you have a middle schooler who wants to be involved in sports. We will notify you as soon as we know about tryout times and dates. Most of that occurs at the Elm campus, but you will be made known when those happen. On-site activities such as the Fall Festival, middle school dances, and all that are tentatively planned, and we will be updating families as they are scheduled. So we join with our on-site counterparts for lots of activities. In the late year, pretty much about 2 weeks before the end of the year, we have what we call Day on the Green. It's a super fun end of the year activity. That's for KISP, that's for on-site. We have our Fall Festival in October. There's a lot of middle school events that take place, and our middle schoolers are often welcome to attend those. They have parties and dances, and we will let you know when those happen so that they can join. A lot of times we have KISP kiddos here in middle school that go as a group because they may know some of the kids on site, but they also want to be with their friends, and that's always encouraged. They get to know each other in workshops and outside of KISP, and they just form their friend groups and then can participate with their on-site counterparts. So I mentioned our annual KISS picnic. We have one at the beginning of every year, and this year it will be on August 25th at the park right next to us. It's called Nashe Mesto Park. So we're excited about that. And I'm going to go into more events in just a minute, but I want to talk about communication. So the KISS main office phone number is here, and we are option 3. So you listen to Miss Anna, who is on there, and click option 3, and it will put you through to our front desk. We have a text message system. We do have school social media accounts. So you can follow Kairos Innovative Scholar Pathway on Facebook. You can also go to Instagram. Our handle is Kairos Innovative Scholars, and you can follow us if you haven't already. I regularly post, especially once our workshops start, lots of workshop videos and fun things that are happening at KISP, and you can stay up to date. They are not our official forms of communication. They are simply ways of reminding people, showing the community what we're doing here. But in bold, you will see regular email communication. That is huge. That is my primary form. That is your advisor's primary form, and anyone else's that works for Kairos' primary form of communication. If you have not received emails from me and you've been enrolled with us for a couple of weeks, that is a problem. So I encourage you to reach out to our front desk. I think we're having some issues here.
Let's just go back to the slide.
Go back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And then back.
and then back again. Okay. They're helping me. Like I said, we have a new system. Sorry about that. So regular communication goes out through email. If you're someone who says, oh, I only check my email once a month, please check it regularly, because you will not enjoy it if you say, well, I missed the sign up for the field trip. Well, we sent it out 2 weeks ago. Oh, and it's at capacity. Well, I never saw it. That's a problem. So we just encourage you to check your email. We do have a communication app that you can download called Parent Square. And if you download it and you look for Kairos, you will get notifications through that app. But either way, you are going to receive an email. So we encourage you to do the Parent Square app. It's very handy. A lot of schools use this app for communication, but no matter what, you will receive emails. Even if you say, hey, I don't need another app on my phone, I totally hear you. I'm one of those people that wants to get rid of all my apps because they drive me crazy. But this is one that's very, very useful. You can also see what's going on at the on-site campus as well. So I encourage you to download that and use it. But again, you will receive emails no matter what. We also have a Kairos community podcast. You can take a look at that on Buzzsprout or Spotify or Amazon Music. You can see our podcast from the last couple of years. We will begin and resume those podcasts. It's usually Jared and I do those, and we have all sorts of topics. We've talked about KISP. We've talked about special education. We've talked about middle schoolers and what it's like to work with them. We've talked to parents and about volunteering, and we've talked to our parent advisory council and all of that stuff. So if you want to kind of get up to date on that, I encourage you to listen to those and stream those, and then we will let you know when more go out. And if you subscribe, you'll get notifications when we upload new ones. Okay, so Parent Advisory Council. So Miss Lorraine Spady is a parent with us, and she is on our Parent Advisory Council, or our PAC. They are nothing like what you think about when you think about parents getting together at a school and trying to do things. They actually have their own nonprofit that supports Kairos. They put on a lot, in fact, most of our events. They put on Day on the Green, they put on Fall Festival, a lot of fundraising events. Our fun run that's coming up in September to raise funds for us, they put that on. We encourage families to go to those monthly PAC meetings. It helps you get to know what you can do to help and support our school. It gives our parents a voice here at KISP. And it's wonderful. I'm going to go back and go forward. Here we go. So I think we have a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that. Miss Lorraine and her family are in that picture. And so you will know her when you see her. You may meet her and she may say, hey, come to our PAC meetings, just so we can get parents to get more involved. Our very first one will be here at our KISP Learning Center on September 13th. It is at 8:30 in the morning. It kind of works out because if you have kiddos coming in for workshops, maybe you just arrive a little earlier that day, you can bring your littles. That's not a problem. If you're like, oh, I've got a 7-month-old and I don't want them crying, or I've got a toddler, everybody's used to it. We don't want that to hinder you from getting involved. So please come to these. We will send out a schedule of when they are every month. And if all you want to do is show up and listen, that's completely fine, but we encourage you to get involved. Okay, what is coming up? First day of school is tomorrow officially. Our beginning of the year KISP picnic is on the 25th at 11:30, and that will go until 1:30. And immediately following that will be our ribbon cutting ceremony. As you know, this is a brand new building. We just moved in at the very end of this last school year. We're going to be having a big ceremony with lots of people. All of our families are invited. We will have a few minor speeches. Our mayor is going to be here, maybe some other folks speaking, but it'll be a 20 to 30 minute actual ceremony, but then people will be able to tour the building. We encourage you to stick around after the picnic, be involved in that. We'll have a couple of light refreshments for people, get to know other families, see people. So kind of make that a day at KISP for you all before workshops start. I mentioned our beginning of the year STAR assessments are coming up. They are the week of August 28th. You will receive signups if you haven't already. Workshops begin September 5th. And then our fun run, which is kind of our first all school event, is happening on Friday, September 15th. I did send a t-shirt sign up, so if your scholar wants to participate, they can get a really awesome shirt and participate in that, and we will give you more information about how to raise funds. I'm going to send that out one more time in case you missed it, but you should have received that and can use the Google form to sign up for a shirt. All right, that was a lot of info. We know that, but I think Miss Snyder has been answering questions. And Janet, is there anything maybe I should answer live that has been asked a lot, or are we covered? No. All right, it sounds like we're covered. This will be recorded on our YouTube channel. So if you need to go back and reference something, or if you know a friend who's with us and they missed it, just say, hey, go to the YouTube channel. It will be there and it will live there so that you can encourage people to see that. Thank you for this hour of your time and for bearing with us with our new system and technical difficulties. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the coming days.